Alright guys, alright. You're probably wondering why the video's early today, because I'm changing my sleeping routine or sleeping schedule. And before I do that, let's just for a sec. I just realised face rig doesn't work real well when you're sitting in a dark room. Alright, so let's jump into it. Let's get these videos. They're going to be out a little bit earlier. Let's smash them out, because in Australia, if you're not vaccinated, if you're not fully vaccinated, you can't go to hospital. See, even my cat thinks it's bad. So this is a list of the 80% dose for double vaccinated, mind you. Or, I think it was 18th of December. Let's break it down, because this is some Llewellian shit here. At 80% double dose, or 17th of December, sorry, I should say. Vulnerable settings, aged care, hospitals, prisons, or disability service. If you're double vaccinated, way to go! You get access! If you're unvaccinated, sorry. Look, we're not going to let you in at the aged care, the hospitals, the prisons, or the disability services. Okay, so here's a question for you. If you're unvaccinated and you commit murder, do you not go to prison? Interesting. But anyway. So, there are rules for businesses. Must not allow unvaccinated visitors. Unvaccinated people can visit if the purpose of end of life, childbirth, or emergency situation. So, they probably haven't thought about this. Because apparently, if you're not vaccinated, you can't go to prison. Obviously not what they were intending, but presumably they're talking about visitors here, right? But hey, the way I'm reading this, you can't go to prison unless you're vaccinated. Hospitality venues, right? So pubs, hotels, clubs, taverns, bars, restaurants, and cafes. Vaccinated, you're good to go. But if you're not vaccinated, well, you can't, right? Only vaccinated staff and patrons permitted to enter. No COVID-19 density limits apply. Private hire of venues if occurring with unvaccinated individuals, a maximum of 20 people or 1 per 4 square meters. So private hires are allowed if occurring with an unvaccinated. So what if one person is unvaccinated but everybody else is vaxxed? Does that mean that they still have to apply to that stupid rule? You can see how this is just a legal nightmare, can't you? But anyway, let's keep going because this is fun. Indoor entertainment venues. For example, nightclubs, indoor live music venues, karaoke bars, theatres and cinemas. If you're vaccinated, you're good to go. If you're not vaccinated, well, sorry, you can't go to a cinema. You can't go to a cinema, you can't go to a karaoke bar or a concert or theatres or nightclubs or anything like that. So the only vaccinated staff and patrons permitted to enter. No COVID-19 density limits apply. Private hire of venues, if occurring with unvaccinated individuals, a maximum of 20 people per 1 to 4 square meters. So if you're unvaccinated, you have to get a group of yous together and hire out a cinema, maybe? That'll, just like, Sarah, let's have a siege, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, Outdoor entertainment activities. Tourism experiences including reef excursions, sports stadiums, and theme parks. You can't go and visit the reef if you're unvaccinated. You can't. The Great Barrier Reef is at danger of getting COVID if you're not vaccinated. Apparently. But anyway. So obviously vaccinated, you're good to go. Unvaccinated people, well, look, sorry, you can't. No, you can't go and visit the Great Barrier Reef, okay? The Great Barrier Reef is COVID phobic, okay? It doesn't like having COVID. You can't go. You're too much of a threat to the Great Barrier Reef. Only vaccinated staff and patrons permitted to enter. So that's the rule for that. Festivals. Entire venue, indoor and outdoor. For example, folk festivals, art festivals, and music festivals. Right? Only vaccinated people can go to that too. Unvaccinated, I'm sorry, but you can't go to your folk festivals, art festivals, or music festivals, okay? Only vaccinated staff and patrons permitted to enter, including performers, crew, catering, food trucks. So if you're not vaxxed, you can't even work at these events. Yep. Okie dokie. Weddings. Enter entire venue, indoor and outdoor. So, vaccinated, you're right to go to that one too. And as for a surprise, unvaccinated are right to go, but with restrictions, right? If any persons are unvaccinated, including the wedding party and officials, a maximum of only 20 people can attend. No COVID-19 density limited supply where all attendees are vaccinated. Queensland government owns galleries, museums and libraries. Unvaccinated, I'm sorry, you can't even go to a museum, okay? Those dinosaur bones might end up going and getting COVID, and that's the last thing, right? We don't need the dinosaurs dying of COVID yet again, right? They've already got enough problems with the meteorite that hit them, so you can't even go to a gallery or a museum or a library. You know, there's a lot of things you can't do in a library. And apparently, attending if you're unvaccinated is one of them, right? Because the last thing we want is a whole bunch of people spreading COVID in a library. Don't know about most people, but when I go to the library, the last thing I'm doing is interacting with people. Mainly it's there to read a book and then leave. So I didn't think the chances of catching COVID at the library are real high. But regardless, apparently you can't go to a Queensland government-owned gallery, museum or library. Does that mean I also can't pay my rates? Hey, just asking. Right, and other settings such as essential retail, other retail, public transport, etc. Obviously, vaccinated and unvaccinated, you're allowed to go and buy your food. So basically, after the 18th or 17th of December, all the unvaccinated people will be able to do is attend possibly a wedding and buy food. Starting to feel like I know how the lepers felt, but regardless. Or the Jews from back in the 1940s. So yeah. In line with the national plan, highly targeted restrictions may be required in high-risk areas. For other specific outdoor attendance, as unrestricted measures apply for physical distancing, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to review this when we reach 90% double dose. So, there'll be a bigger carrot and a bigger stick for when we hit 90%, of course. Now, here's a question for you. If you're only allowed to go to hospitals in case of death, right? So hospital venues, for example, right? Unvaccinated people can visit the purposes of end-of-life, childbirth, or emergency situations. What's an emergency situation? If I drop a brick on my foot, is that an emergency situation? Because if I'm not allowed to go to a hospital and I've dropped a brick on my foot and I've broken my foot and therefore I can't get treatment, so then my foot becomes infected and I have to get it amputated, would that be then classed as an emergency situation as well? Just asking, just curious here. Right? And here's another question. If the hospital is barred out for most of the time that people are unvaccinated, does that mean they get to pay less taxes? Because some of our money goes to these venues. For example, my taxes go to pay for government museums and libraries and galleries and hospitals and stuff like that. If I'm not allowed to go to these venues because I'm a naughty unvaxxer, am I allowed to get a rebate on my taxes? I think I should be entitled to a rebate. I think I should pay less taxes, right? If you're not going to represent me, if you're not going to be a service that is available to me because I'm a naughty unvaxxer, then why am I paying for these services? Maybe we should get a tax break. Right? I think this is a valid point. I should ask my Member of Parliament. What do you reckon? What do you reckon the answer might be? I don't know. We start getting a few hundred people ringing up asking for a tax break at a certain Members of Parliament. They might start getting a little bit worried. They might be like, oh shit. You know? Crap. They might have a point here. So, yeah. Welcome to China. We're going to update the Australian national anthem. It's no longer "We Are Young and Free." It is "We Are Now Chinese and Glee," I suppose. We'll say something like that, right? And if you're not Glee, we'll lock you up and beat you with a stick, because that's the way the Australian government's going right now. The Australian government is turning into such an authoritarian shithole. I literally have spent most of today and yesterday thinking, I wonder if I can smuggle myself over to Florida. I don't want to live in Australia anymore. Do you know how heartbreaking that is to say? Someone who is born here, who's spent his whole life living here, doesn't want to live here anymore because his country is turning into a communist shithole. We're going to have to start learning Mandarin. But people vote for this. And that's going to be the subject of tomorrow's video, I suppose, is I am sick of talking. I am sick of screaming into the ether and trying to wake people up. This has to change. People have to stop voting for these morons. There is no difference in Australia between the Labor Party and the Liberal Party, the Green Party and the National Party. All of the four major parties in Australia have signed on for this. As far as they're concerned, to me, they can all go get fucked. You vote for this shit. You claim you're doing this in Australia's best interest. Go fuck yourself. I don't care if you're Scott Morrison. I don't care if you're Alistair Page, whatever a fucking name is. You can all go fuck yourself with an elephant-sized dick. And I'll tell you what, I won't be using fucking lube when I bend you over. No reach around, no lube, elephant-sized dick up the arse, because that's exactly how I think Australia is treating their people right now. They are fucking people up the arse. And the only way this shit changes is if we stop voting for it. We stop voting for them. We stop voting Labor. We stop voting Liberal. We stop voting Greens. We stop voting Nationals. If we have to get a third party or a fourth or fifth or sixth party in, I know people don't want to vote for Pauline Hanson because the media calls her racist, right? And I'm just using her as an example, right? There's Clive Palmer, there's Pauline Hanson, there's independent companies out there. Independent parties, I should say. here's the thing. Even if Pauline Hanson was racist, at this point, I don't give a fuck. The first party that speaks up and says, no, this is wrong, we are going to get rid of this shit, we are going to get rid of these mandates, we are going to stop treating people like second-class citizen, will get my vote. And not only my vote, I imagine there is a shit ton of people who would vote for you. Clive Palmer, Pauline Hanson, the Katter Party, whoever it may be. Fucking run on this policy. And actually do it. Fuck all this shit off. Let's go back to Australia, being as it was before COVID. Within Queensland, they have had 0 cases. And yet they are still bringing in this Llewellyn shit. And to the people that sit there like a bunch of NPCs and cheer this on, let me ask you a question. What do you think's going to happen after everybody is vaccinated? Say they go through at 100% vaccinations. What about booster shots? Do you think they're going to start to bring those in? I wasn't going to talk about this today, but look at this. NBA recommending COVID-19 booster shots to players. They're not recommending it, it's a mandate. Because at the end of the day, you scroll through and you read, they said if you don't get the booster shot, test every week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and they're treating people now who have had the double jab, who are fully vaccinated. They are treating you like you're unvaccinated. The NBA now thinks unless you've got a booster shot, now you're vaccinated. What's going to happen another 6 or 12 months from now? Got to get booster shot number 2. And another 6 or 12 months after that. Booster shot number 3. You haven't got it? Sorry, mate. You're no longer vaccinated. You might have been vaccinated yesterday, but you didn't get your 3rd jab from the government. You're unvaccinated. And it's going to keep going. People are going to keep having to get booster shots over and over and over and over and over. And meanwhile, Moderna and all these companies, these drug companies, are raking in the money. But it's for your health and safety, says the Victorian government, while they beat protesters. So health and safety conscious? What's that? You're protesting? Here, let me fire some rubber bullets and tear gas into you. I'm beating you! I'm beating you, man! I'm beating you for your public safety, alright? It's for your safety! It's a beating of... It's a beating of... It's a beating to make you feel better! To public safety! We're gonna beat you! Just to make you feel safe. Such a fucking joke. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack a like button if you're new to the channel. Welcome and subscribe. Anybody knows how to get me to Florida, I'm all ears. Have a great night and enjoy yourself, everybody.